Will Assassin's Creed Unity be the best game in the franchise, or will it merely let us down? I'm GhostRobo, and let's find out. So AC Unity is the big, bold, brand new, next-gen only Assassin's Creed game releasing this year. Sure, they just announced AC Rogue for the last-gen systems, but I am much more interested in the beautiful, potentially tide-turning game that is Assassin's Creed Unity. A bunch of new info has been revealed, and I want to discuss it with you guys. Believe it or not, I'm a big fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I've had definite qualms with the last few games. I think they weren't really up to par, but I really, really liked AC1, and I loved Assassin's Creed 2. That game, it's the only game I ever got 1,000 achievement points on for Xbox 360, and the world was so fun. I had no problem just chasing flags and feathers for eternity because it was such a well-realized environment. The cities were so much fun to explore. Rome was beautiful and big, and the heights and the views and the imagery just really clicked and gelled. The combat was fun. They nailed the mysterious aspect with the glyphs and piecing together that video for the Desmond aspect of the game. And the assassinations were cool. The storyline had impact and meaning and just really carried you from start to finish. It was a great game. One of my favorites of all time, probably. I think that was the true high point for the series, and most of you probably agree. Brotherhood was also a good game, but since then it's kind of been, I feel, a bit of a downward turn. Revelations was more of the same. 3 kind of turned me off with its low-level buildings, and some of the seams are starting to show. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was much better received by some people, the naval aspects, but I really feel that Unity is the true game to right the ship, per se, even if there aren't any naval missions in this game for the franchise, because it is improving on so many things that we have come to be annoyed by. So the number one thing, and I might have mentioned this before, I saw the game in person, up close. I got a demo at E3 of Unity. It's absolutely amazing looking, and they no longer have that really annoying sort of, you know how you have to run up to something perfectly 90 degrees, and if you come at an angle, it doesn't work? Well, that's gone. Now you can approach walls and different climbable objects from any angle you would like, but there's a lot more to this game that has been just recently exposed. First off, the map is gigantic. It looks so dense. The city is absolutely massive. And they're saying there can be up to 30,000 people in a crowd, which is like that. I don't know if I even believe that. That's mind-blowing. 30,000? I mean, I don't think they can all be on screen at once, but perhaps they can. What if you're super high up? Can you see 30,000? Like, that would be... Next Gen is allowing them to really expand upon sort of their city simulation in a whole new way. And that also includes opening up the buildings. I've heard about 1/4, 25% of the buildings are explorable. And this isn't just for missions or just for, store opportunities. It also can be used for escapes. So you can see yourself running through a building, jumping through a window, hiding in there from guards. There might be guards inside as well. But you can, really modify your routes much more easily now that we can traverse through buildings, and I feel like that will be a lot of fun. And they said you're really going to notice the 1-to-1 scale for buildings because they are going to seem so high, and that's something I definitely noticed in person, is that the verticality of this game is absolutely massive, and that's so impressive. It's something that I think gives you a next-gen sense of awe and wonder. You're standing on the street level, you look up, and you're like, holy crap, that's huge, and you climb up, and you're just going and going and going. Same with going down. You're going down and down and down, and now it's not awkward because they've added specific buttons for rapid descent, which is pretty cool. And they said they want, they're kind of de-emphasizing haystacks because now you can just really quickly go down the buildings in a parkour fashion, which not only looks cool, but will add a lot of flexibility. The free running was never as free as we wanted, and it sounds like they're really improving upon that. The fact that you don't have to approach things at such a strict angle. You can run up a wall, sideways and approach that way. There's not the annoying blocks that are the start points for every ascent. You have to climb up the blocks and they look the same all over the city, and it's like, who stacked these the exact same way? What kind of creepy person is doing this? That's not there anymore because you can approach from anywhere. So that aspect of movement seems to be a real focus here. They also seem to want to focus a lot on the combat. Combat is now harder. They're saying you could beat 2 or 3 guys, but 5 is way too many. And so you're going to have to pay attention to what weapons they have, and you're going to have to customize your character. You can customize your leg, boot, forearm, chest, hood, and mask armor. And they all have attributes. So, for example, there's a hood that makes you blend in faster, a belt that allows you to carry more items, and you will be doing some skill leveling. So you can drop points into stealth, navigation, combat, and make different kinds of characters. So one who is really good at being fleet of foot and silent, or one who's just a little bit slower, but maybe he's excellent at fighting. You can take on more guys. And the NPC groups are going to react to each other much more as well. So their example was thugs may attack on sight, but police, they won't come in unless you really get them going. So police might interact with thugs, and then you could, we saw some of that in the demo footage. There's a little bit of interaction between sort of crowd and also like actual guards. And I wonder how that's all going to factor in, specifically with assassinations. We've done a lot before where you have a group go and distract a guard, or go and distract a target rather, but are you going to have like these massive scenarios where you can throw tons of civilians into a building? You break open a gate and they all are angry and they push in, and then it's just mass chaos and you can chase after your guy. I hope they really get where it's much more significant. The later Assassin's Creed games, I feel like they de-emphasized the fun of the stealth kills, the fun of the assassinations. There wasn't as much, to me, it just didn't feel as significant, and I hope that they can really improve upon that. They also brought in much more true stealth. One thing that Watch Dogs and Splinter Cell and some of these other Ubi games do really well is a nice snap to cover. I actually love peeking around in Watch Dogs and moving from cover to cover, and they've added a actual stealth cover system, a stealth mode into Assassin's Creed. So now in stealth mode, a different stance, it softens your footsteps, you can sneak up on people, and you will snap to cover. So you can hide, you can peek around, and that to me is a huge shift, because before, hiding in like bushes or behind trees, it was kind of goofy, kind of annoying, and it felt like you were just following this very set trail and path, and it didn't even make much sense. Like, why can't they see me? What's going on sometimes? So actual cover, like I think that's a big get for the game. And they also are really, it seems, just concerned with making this feel next gen and improving upon not only the visuals but the gameplay in pretty much every way. They've added co-op now, and apparently all the co-op missions can also be done solo. There's different difficulties, but you can explore the entire city in co-op. So you can bring in a friend and mess around. You will be Arno always, and they will look like someone else, but they will also be Arno and you will look like someone else. So it's one of those sort of asynchronous visual things where you're always going to be Arno, so it stays true to the story. It would feel weird if all of a sudden you were random assassins, dude. So you will be Arno and they will be a different guy, and that's kind of similar to the multiplayer system in Watch Dogs, where someone can come and kind of try to take you out or whatnot, and you're always Aiden, because it would be weird to be random person or whatnot. A couple other things to note: they are starting a new kind of a new storyline with present day. So it is going to be supposedly a very, very surprising and cool new trick up their sleeve, I guess. And it says, you'll really know what's going on right from the get-go. We haven't had any indication of what that's going to be. I'm guessing Desmond is totally out, so we're going to be seeing something brand new, which is pretty cool. But my hope for this game goes beyond just the controls and the story. It also goes to the mission design, and that's something that they have also addressed. They're kind of addressing all of my wants, which makes me super excited. And that's why I've said this is my most looked forward to sequel or most anticipated fall game, probably, now that Evolve is sort of out of the mix and some of the others have been pushed back. They will not have you really auto-fail missions. So those annoying follow and listen missions where you have to stay in the circle and it gives you the timer and you're trying to stay in the circle and not get spotted, then you get spotted and have to restart. It's like the worst thing in Assassin's Creed. It's so annoying. Those are apparently gone. So they say that it doesn't follow a specific script, so there will be changes and consequences for how you handle missions, but you will not get desynchronized for being spotted. So I've heard things like, okay, if it's a follow sneak up mission and you screw that up and they see you, it will then turn into sort of a chase mission, and then you'll have to get that target that way, or you'll have to interrogate him that way. So they have more dynamic mission structure. On one hand, this sounds really awesome. I hope it doesn't make the game easy, because even though those missions are annoying, it's what gives the game difficulty, right? You have to sneak around, you have to make sure you take a proper path, you have to really find a way to track these guards in a successful manner. And if it's like, well, I screwed up and now it just doesn't auto-fail, that does add for the sort of, what do you call it, like the flow of the game that makes that a lot better, but does it take away from the difficulty, the trickiness? I wonder how the rest of the missions are going to go. Obviously, they're going to have to still have things like tracking targets and taking people down and reaching these certain points and whatnot, but how will that all... how will that work? And if they're removing haystacks, they're more interested in quick ascension and quick descension of buildings. What does that mean for escapes? Normally, we would go and dive off a building, hide in a haystack. Are there going to be less things to hide in? Is it going to be more of a, twisting, turning? I don't know if you guys have seen the map. I'll try to put a link to it in the description, but it's absolutely dense. And so maybe the streets are so full and just so full that you can hide more easily that way. A couple other things that I just personally want for the game. I want the story to really matter. I know that I said this at the top of the video about Assassin's Creed 2, but I just couldn't get into some of the characters lately. I mean, Connor, he's is what he is. I didn't really like him, and the Kenway trilogy just didn't really appeal to me. I thought Ezio was a great character, and Altair was not likable at all, but he had some interesting points, and I hope that Arno, the new guy, can really sort of grab our interest. Maybe he doesn't have to grab our hearts. I hope he's not a total jerk, but he doesn't necessarily have to grab our hearts as like a perfect man, but if he could just be interesting, if his mission and his motives can be interesting, if the villains can be ferocious. Like, I felt like the Templars had the best assortment of characters in Assassin's Creed 2. When you're dealing with the Pope and all that stuff, like, it really got just dirty and nasty. And you're like, oh, this whole system of all these guys, I got to take them out. And then, integrating the present day stuff, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Ubisoft isn't afraid to be daring with that. We saw that in Assassin's Creed 4 when they had you sort of be within their offices as they're making the game. That was sort of a surreal and unique experience. I hope they do something a little bit more dynamic than just being in an office building. I don't know. I like the parts where you get to explore the modern day. I thought that was pretty cool. That kind of a thing, just kind of throwing it back and forth from a modern day character to a past, or maybe it's something totally different entirely. They say that, you are the protagonist, so it's not going to be like you're a secondary character, but to me, this is the start of the, not only the next generation of Assassin's Creed 4, the next gen consoles, but the next cycle of Assassin's Creed. AC Rogue wraps up that trilogy, keep that on last gen, and now we're moving forward into something brand new and bold. So I'm very excited. I think all of these things sound great, from opening up the movement to modifying the mission structure, adding a stealth mode, upping the amount of people in the crowd, increasing the difficulty of combat, and expanding your character by allowing for skill leveling and customization. That all is really good. This game has been in development since 2010 after Brotherhood. They then began to work on this. So it's been in the works for 4 years, which is a long time and a lot of time, and I really hope that it will show and shine when it releases later this year. What do you guys think of Assassin's Creed Unity? What are your hopes and dreams for it? How does this new info sound? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you're pumped for the game like me. I think it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to get it for my PlayStation 4 and just go to work with Arno taking down some of these French freakazoid villains. Until that time, though, guys, have a fantastic day. We'll keep up to date with Assassin's Creed Unity. Any new info that's released, we'll definitely talk about it either here or podcast or Twitter or somewhere. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/GhostRobo. for all the latest and greatest. Until the next time we speak, though, guys and girls. Thanks again. Drink so much chocolate, and we will see you all later.